What's up guys, it's the Hunter Project here. Welcome to my channel where you'll find Monster Hunter news, builds, playthroughs and everything in between. Hope you do enjoy the video, and if you haven't already, be sure to smash the like and subscribe buttons. It would be extremely appreciated as we are trying to reach 1000 subscribers as soon as possible pretty much. And yet without wasting any more time, let's get right into the video. So today I'll be bringing you a Longsword Fatalis complete build that I've been using recently. It isn't 100% optimized, but it's not far from it, and it is quite fun to use as well. So getting straight into the equipment, we are running a full Fatalis beta set with of course the Fatalis Longsword, which is the centerpiece to the build. Here are the augments that I'm using, and we basically have 1 health and 1 affinity. Feel free to switch this up however you want, like depending on how you play the game, but this is how I run personally. So for the mantles, as I say with every build video, they are player preference, so feel free to use what you want depending on what monster you're facing, as well as your playstyle. I am running what I believe to be the most common setup, and what I feel the most comfortable with whenever I'm just like, okay, I just need a build. I want to put 2 mantles in that I can use pretty much for any monster, and they usually are going to be Rocksteady and Temporal, just as Rocksteady allows us to negate any tremors, wind resistance, it gives us earplugs, gives us so many skills, gives us boost in defense, no more knockbacks, and then Temporal, obviously that's just giving us an automatic dodge whenever we mess up from evading the monster. So yeah, once again, just feel free to run whatever you want. Moving on to the decorations, here they are on screen. Feel free to pause the screen and set up your decorations in a similar fashion, and remember guys, if you do not have many decorations, the event quests are up right now, so go farm them, as well as Steamworks being an excellent source for them as well. RNG is everything here, so good luck, and remember, if you are trying to recreate this, it does not have to be 1-to-1, just put in what you can and try and add other skills that may be useful to you that you do have the decorations of. As you will see, there is 1 skill in here, and maybe actually 2, where I've put them in just because I had the decorations for them and didn't have the decorations to boost the build in a different area that probably would have been more effective for me. So starting off from the top, we have Agitator, which is a requirement pretty much for every damage build ever, as you get a tremendous damage boost when you enrage the monster, and as most of you probably already know this, when you damage the monster they become enraged, well when you wallbang the monster, sorry, they become enraged, and they will get a damage boost, and Agitator allows us to get the damage boost as well. With Iceborne, it is pretty much second nature to make sure you use a wallbang whenever possible to maximise damage, as you can't use the Clutch Claw to its full potential when the monster is already enraged. So we're going to try to keep the monster enraged as much as possible using this build, just so we have the full damage increase, which all the skills are going to gather up together to give us. We have Critical Eye next, which is level 6 to counteract the Fatalis weapon's terrible affinity, and we have level 7 when using Rocksteady to maximise the skill. Of course that's just straightforward affinity skill, and that will just make sure that we're having, I think, roughly 15% at the end instead of the negative 30% I believe it starts off at, but it's pretty low in the negatives, so it's just nice to cancel it out. Evade window is next, and is quite self-explanatory with it. It just allows us to have a bigger window to evade and hit the iframe, which is extremely useful with the longsword, as we want to keep it unsheathed as much as possible and make sure we use every opportunity possible where we can deal damage. And then we have Tool Specialist, which becomes it's definitely become more prevalent towards the end of World's life cycle, and this is just going to allow us to swap between our mantles extremely quickly, which once again is quite straightforward. We're just able to maintain our character buffs given by the mantles longer, which is always useful. Next we have Attack Boost level 4, and level 4 is very specific, so level 4 is going to give us the affinity boost of 5%, which is very useful of course, and any higher levels won't give us an increase to infinity, it will only be to damage, and it's only by like 3+ damage, so it's not really necessary if you have enough decorations to fill out the other areas in your armor. So it's just trying to make sure that you're utilizing every skill point possible to the max potential, and attack level 4 is probably the most efficient place you can place it, and obviously if you have spare decorations at the end, feel free to just max out attack. Next we have Weakness Exploit, which allows us to get the most of weakening monster areas, which is mandatory in Iceborne, as this boosts our overall damage, just like Critical Boost, which will also max that same critical damage out. and it'll give us a 40% increase in critical damage. And weakness exploit, obviously with Iceborne, if you're not weakening the monster's part, your weapon's going to naturally be doing less damage than it should. So of course weakness exploit just encourages us to just use our clutch claw more to weaken the monster. Next we have Handicraft level 4, which allows us to reduce the amount of time spent sharpening and keep that damage of max sharpness as long as possible. Stun resistance is intrinsic to our armor and is really useful, making Thunderblight not as dangerous as before, as we are fully resistant to being stunned. So there's not really too many repercussions for having the Thunderblight. Focus allows us to build up our longsword meter faster and is at level 2, as it's not necessary as a skill, but it is useful. So I slotted it in as much as I could without compromising the other skills. So once again, as I talked about before, if you don't have all the decorations in the game, just pick out different skills that you might find a tiny bit useful and just put them in, just like I did with Focus, which isn't really too necessary on longswords, because when you get off your final slash of your spirit combo, it will naturally gather up faster anyways. So and if you do the special sheath and get the hits off with that, you'll also get a massive increase on how quickly your meter's increasing. So Focus isn't too necessary, but I had an extra space so I put it in. Finally, the last skill is Evade Extender, which is the last skill in our armor decorations, which just goes back to the same evade window point, and it will allow us to be more agile and reduce the time spent sheathing, allowing us to maximize our damage. And of course, if you need to dodge and you require that extra bit of distance, Evade Extender will allow us to do that. So our final skill, which comes from the mantles, is Divine Blessing, which is slotted into the Rocksteady just so we can increase the tanking capability of the build, and this will just allow us to damage the monster more aggressively when using it, as of course when we do get hit, Rocksteady's giving us that boost in defense, and then Divine Blessing is just backing that up and giving us a chance to reduce that damage even further. Right guys, this does bring us to the end of the video. Be sure to try the build out and let me know down below any builds you guys love to use, regardless of the weapon class. So even if it's like a hammer build or a light bowgun build, let me know down below. And if you haven't already, be sure to smash the like, subscribe buttons, it would be extremely appreciated. Thank you so much for watching guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.